Step into realms where the heart takes flight, where strategy meets the edge of night. The Dungeons, Dragons, and Psychology podcast. Prepare your mind. Now be our guest.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dungeons, Dragons, and Psychology podcast. I am your host, Robert Walker, and today joining me for the first time is Keegan Brumfield. Go ahead and say hi, Keegan.
Hello.
So today we're going to be talking about what it's like to be the new player at a table, or being the noob. I know this is a term that's thrown around a lot in desktop gaming or console gaming, but it's also applicable in tabletop role-playing as well. And being a new player is one of those things that can be a little bit intimidating and a little bit difficult because it is a game that is rule-centric and there are so many rules to think about. What has your experience been with this, Keegan? I mean, you've gotten started with us in about, how long's it been now? Maybe 6 months or so?
Yeah, around that time.
So what's your experience of being a new player been so far?
Well, as a new player, it's been basically, let's just say there's been a lot thrown at me. It's a huge game, and it's not even just like, we're only doing one edition right now. So I didn't even realize there was what, 3 or 5 more editions on this that D&D has.
Well, yeah, so Dungeons & Dragons has 5 editions, and we're playing Pathfinder right now. It's on its 2nd edition, but there's also, there's hundreds of different tabletop role-playing games that just cover all different categories and genres and ideas. There's one-page RPGs where you can just play a single set of rules for a very short type of game. There's really countless numbers of ways that you can play a tabletop role-playing game, but I would say, obviously, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition right now seems to be the most popular. And the system that we're running, which is sort of a hybrid between Pathfinder 2nd edition, Pathfinder 1st edition, and we're running some rules out of D&D 4th edition. I mean, we've kind of got a conglomeration of cherry picking from all the things we the different things that we like from different editions. So yeah, there's a lot. And then you got thrown in as well with, we have like 25 years worth of house ruling and ideas that we've liked and converted to our table, which can add just a whole nother level of things as well.
Oh, definitely. Like, it's just, besides the fact that there's infinite amount of rules to this game, and like there's already just like learning how to just do the dice is already one thing, which I've gotten it at this point. Combat, at least I can get through and actually like function, and also like trying to interact with the world that's created. Like I can semi-do, but it's also just like, we're introducing like mythic points. Like I jumped in basically at level 7.
Right.
So I'm already like supposed to be well in tuned with my character, but I'm definitely not, which thankfully my brother-in-law, Joe, he was able to help me kind of understand and build the character. But at this point, I'm still kind of just like, most of the stuff kind of goes over my head. There's a couple times where like even like one of the people in our group, Jamay, like he would like throw basically a line to me, basically saying, "Hey, try to do this to help us progress through the story," and no clue what he was trying to do. And it's just mostly because I haven't memorized my character, everything my character can do, its abilities. So it's a lot. It's a lot of information, which is really...
It definitely can be intimidating with how much is out there and how much content is available. Just the number of options you have to pick from. Even if you only take the core rule books, there's still a lot to learn in there. And then if you start adding, we have, so many splash books of additional rules, additional types of classes, backgrounds, all sorts of things that can be added onto your characters. It can be overwhelming. What would you say as a new player, which part is more intimidating to you when you first came to the table? Was it the concept of role play, or was it the technical aspect of running a character?
It's more just the technical aspect of running a character. Role playing is like I'm not used to it, but it doesn't seem like a scary idea. It's more just something I want to dive into, because that's like, for me, that seemed like almost like 90% of the fun of D&D was just kind of diving into being this character and actually interacting with the world as the character should. Like for me, I'm a druid dwarf, so I'm basically doing a lot of dwarf stuff, which dwarves are kind of, sturdy, rambunctious, drink a lot, do all this random stuff, but they're loyal. But I'm also druids, and I can also turn into a giant, so
Yeah,
I
it's
do
pretty cool.
some crazy stuff, and that seemed more fun to me, but it's definitely like the actual mechanical part of the game where it's like, well, you got to do, like, if you're going to do this interaction, like say you want to stone form something, you have to like first figure out what you're trying to do, whether or not you have to do a check for that or not,
Right.
which, sometimes the DM, just a little some liberty there, like, hey, you just do it. Like, where other times it's like, all right, you got to roll, we'll see if you pass. If not, you basically can fail, or you can critical fail and end up generally just hurting yourself.
Yeah. It's always fun.
Oh yeah. And so I always found the actual like role play to be way more exciting and fun. The mechanical part of it will make like actually finish it off, but that's definitely the more intimidating part of D&D to me.
So how do you feel now after about 6 months? Do you feel like you have gained a decent grasp on the rules, or do you still feel like when you show up at the table, there's still a lot you're unsure about or you don't know what to do with yet?
Well, with our game, we do, like you said, it's a little bit of a hybrid. So sometimes I am a bit unsure, but for the most part, I feel like I can at least play and actually interact with like my team, basically us and the DM. It's still sometimes I'm not, like, sometimes some things just go right over my head, especially with like the mythic points and some of the concepts of our story going so far right now. We've had some strange occurrences happen.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's like right now where there's no magic unless you're by Brenna.
Right.
Kind of can definitely, like, it makes you change your whole aspect of gaming, which at this point I understand, because we have like, what's the standard group for like a D&D group? Like it's like 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, I mean, I think early on standards have always been like 1 DM and 4 players. So the classic party of 4 is kind of the most traditional party size. Although I found a lot of success in games that I've run in smaller groups. I do think that one of my favorite group sizes to run games for is only 3 players. And I just think that all the players get a little bit more screen time that way. And there's not as much time that has to pass during combat. Because definitely with a group size like we're playing with, which is I think 7 players. Yeah, so it's a big group.
Yeah.
And you can really get bogged down in the minutia of combat when you're waiting 7 people's turn orders to come back around to you. Plus, sometimes there's 2, 3, 4 monsters that are in the initiative order, and that can really add up in terms of how much time you're spending on combat.
And also the fact, like, 7 people arguing about what we need to do, what we want to do, definitely takes more time to do the story and actually develop what we're trying to like build in the campaign. So I like throwing me in, I really appreciated what he did. Like, I'm like, cool. Because I love, like, I just came just to show up and hang out with you guys. So when he threw me in, I was like, this is gonna be great. Like, but 7 people is a lot of people to try to manage and actually build a fight or campaign around. So like right now I'm a little over my head just because of how many people we have, and it's generally not what you guys do from what I've been told.
Yeah, I think in the next game that you're in, you'll probably have a very different experience, just because I doubt that we will have this many people at a table again. But yeah, it gives you another unique learning opportunity, I suppose, because you do get to see a whole lot of rounds of combat. So at least you're getting a larger amount of exposure to it.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of exposure in this game.
So what would you say overall is the most frustrating thing about being in a group of all experienced players? Because you are kind of like the only person who's new to the game at the table right now, and you're playing with some people who've been, I mean, some of us have been playing for over 20 years together.
There's nothing that really like I'm hard set, like, that's annoying, like, this is troublesome. It's more just my lack of knowledge makes it annoying, because I can tell by looking at, like, when I'm interacting with the world, I can tell sometimes where like Jamae or Brenna or Joe, they'll just notice that I'm not interacting the way I should. He basically threw a line to me saying, hey, you could probably solve this problem because this is kind of built to help you solve the problem. Or I'm just like, I don't even know how I would solve that problem. so like that's the most annoying part of it so far, is just like I can't really help the team as much as I want to, because I really want to just be like there and help, because right now we're definitely fighting some pretty big obstacles in our campaign. But it's just, that's probably like the most annoying thing. Playing with experienced players, that's the greatest thing, because like I don't think I would enjoy it half as much if I was playing with a bunch of new people. Like if there was only one person who knew what they were doing, sure, that'd be fun. But I like being corrected, but I guess maybe that's different for everybody. But I like when people are like, hey, this would have been better if you tried this, because it just will be. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you for sharing that with me, because I'd rather do it the correct way than saunter off over here and not do anything important or helpful,
Well, I can definitely tell you early on in my gaming adventure, when I was a new player, it was myself and Dustin, who's currently running the game that Keegan and I are playing in. He was running a game for me, and I was the only player. So it was just the two of us, but neither one of us had any real grasp of the rules. So it was mostly a lot of just us running around using verbal role play and then looking up a rule to see how something would work. And it's exciting because you're learning something new, but it was also, there was a lot of times where we would do something, we would think it would work, and then we'd be like, oh man, that's not the way the rules actually work. So I think in that sense, I can definitely appreciate having experienced players at the table, because they have a better grasp of the iterations of the settings and all the different rules and the way that they interact. Because sometimes that's the biggest question, is how does this rule interact with this rule, especially in a game where you can almost do anything that you want to do, right? So you can't write a rule for everything that's ever going to happen, ad infinitum, right?
Yeah, no, there's got to be some restriction.
So yeah, I think it is good just having that little bit of experience.
So I don't think it's very annoying to have like a full team that's like veterans, because they, at least like when you're playing with veterans so far, every time I play any kind of game that has veterans, they always puppy dog me. Like they're like, oh, don't worry, we're going to go easy. We're going to try to make sure you understand and enjoy the game. I've never had a veteran who just wanted me to immediately hate the game and never play again. So that's why I'm generally like, anytime you get veterans, like, appreciate what they're doing for you. Don't take it as like an insult that they're like trying to critique how you play. Right. They're just trying to edify you on what's really going to happen when you do this thing.
Well, I think unlike some computer games or console games, there's not as much of I guess like a group of people who are out there to just slay noobs, So in that sense, I think maybe tabletop playing is a little more equitable to a new player, because they're just not showing up and getting wrecked by somebody who's experienced.
Definitely.
So is there anything that you have learned about the game that you really like or really don't like?
I haven't found anything about the game that I'm like, I hate this aspect of the game. It's terrible. Like, no. Okay, actually, there is one thing.
Aha.
There is one thing, and it's those bleed effects, those poison effects, all those like life steal effects.
Yep.
Those are awful.
They are awful.
Granted, I get why they're in the game, but
and to give a little more context to the listeners, we actually play with a house rule in our worlds where if there's a constitution or if there's a stat that is being drained, we don't let a normal cure take care of that. There has to be a restoration or something that would normally heal stat damage in order to heal stat bleed. So it is far more deadly in our worlds. And sometimes that's to the detriment of the players, but I think it just makes the idea of, bleeding out or like dying of a very virulent poison. It feels a little more real, a little more visceral that way.
It definitely makes the healers way more important when we're playing. Like, especially like sometimes where like, schedules, some people just can't show up. And, some people are like, I don't want you to play my character because like, I don't want you to make the choice I wouldn't make, which makes sense to me. Like, I don't want like someone playing my character and just going off on a tangent that I would have never gone on to. But it definitely makes it so like you need some people to be there when we're having these kind of fights, which makes it a little hard.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that about not having people play your character when you're away. It's a very personal experience when you create a character and you sort of build their persona in your mind in a way that really only you is ever going to understand. And not just that, but because it is a game of so many rules and so many different ways that a character can be built and played, no person who's going to grab your character sheet while you're away is going to understand all of the little idiosyncrasies about your character and all the things that you can do. So they're going to be far less effective in almost any given situation than you would have been if you were there.
Yeah, that's what before I was thrown into the campaign, I would play Joe sometimes, and I knew like from the get-go, because his character's already kind of just this obscure, I have no idea what he's trying to build here, but he definitely does and knows what he wants to do. But when I was playing him when he was gone, I could just already tell him, like, he knows, like, these are not the choices he would make. And I'm like, and that's why he's kind of just been like, all right, just throw me, just turn me unconscious or just do whatever you need to do to throw me off to the side so no one's playing.
Let me hang out off screen, so
basically
I'm not missing out on the adventure, but I'm also not there making choices I wouldn't make if I was.
We'll be right back.
Hey, Cyclithids, if you love the Dungeons, Dragons, and Psychology podcast and want to help keep it alive, there are a ton of ways you can support the show. Join us on Patreon for exclusive content like NPC character sheets, early access to new products, and even first looks at DM's Assistant app. You can also grab gaming-inspired merch on the Etsy shop, Games for Games, or pick up one of my books, The Player's Handbook to Real Life, or Session Zero, the DMG to Writing Great Campaigns in any system. And even if financial support isn't in the cards for you, you can still help by sharing the show, leaving reviews, or introducing new players to our community. Links are always in the show notes, and thank you for being the heart of our adventure. Yeah.
Especially when when I played him and I had 3 critical failures in a row.
That's the worst. That's the worst. There should almost be a house rule if you're playing somebody else's character that you can't have critical failures because it's the worst thing for somebody else to come back the next week. And you have to be like, well, I sort of killed your character. It's because then it feels like a punishment for not being there, right? Which is not something you want to have at your table. You don't want people to feel punished if they're not there.
Especially when it comes to like having mythic points. Like I would never, like when I first played Joe, did not know how to use mythic points at all. And there was a couple of checks if I'd spent a mythic point, he probably would have passed and I would not have critical failed. And basically he's supposed to be this smart guy in the game. When I critically failed, I was trying to gain knowledge. So basically I made him super stupid for that moment. And, it's just, I get why you don't want other people to play your character. And you're right. You do build like a huge attachment to your character, especially if you start out at level 1, like this is you from the get go. You don't want someone to just come in and be like, well, you did something completely not you.
Yeah, I've definitely come back to games that I've missed when people have played my characters and had that conversation of what my character did while I was away. And had to, shake my head and be like, but that's not what they would have done. And it's just a scenario you don't want to have to deal with. So I do think it's a smart move to just shift a character into the background, let them still be there, but don't make their choices, life or death.
Right. Especially when it comes to the big fights that were involved.
Yeah. Great big beholders and zombie swarm monsters, everything we're facing right now in the Underdark.
I'll say this. You guys handled the Beholder quite well, though.
Yeah, that one, I was worried about it because we've been playing Pathfinder for years now. And so a Beholder is something we haven't played with much. It's a D&D monster, not a Pathfinder monster. And I think we've kind of stayed true to the system that we were playing in terms of what monsters were there. So when it's like the first time in maybe 10 years that we've had to face off against a Beholder, and I got like all nervous the week before because I knew we were going to fight it. And I kept talking about it every single day with my wife. Like, I can't believe it. We're going to have to fight a Beholder again. I haven't had to fight one in 10 years. It's like weird how it brings up memories of just like devastating character deaths that have happened way back when.
Yeah, you and Joe were on that same boat. He was nonstop talking about it. It's like, dude, this fight's going to be intense.
Yep.
I don't know how it's going to go. And like Brenna even was like, this is basically a final boss. Yeah. And I was like, oh. And we're not even halfway through the campaign.
I think, definitely because we were playing mythic style characters, it could have gone a lot differently if we didn't have those mythic abilities at our disposal. But I think it was good for me. It was emotionally validating to know that I could survive a beholder fight and get through it.
Yeah, no, those mythic points, crazy.
Yeah, it brings a whole other aspect to the game. In D&D 3.5, they had a system known as epic levels. And so it was basically after you reach level 20, you could continue playing and continue gaining levels pretty much as long as you wanted to keep playing. And so it was a very different system, but the feats and the skills and everything that you took as an epic level character were more powerful. So it kind of had the same feel as the mythic.
So mythic, is that just strictly Pathfinder, or is that edition 1?
Mythic is a Pathfinder rule set that's basically, they're like extra rules you can play with. You don't have to play mythic characters, but they're always available to add into your rule set. I think they're a lot of fun. What's interesting about mythic levels in Pathfinder as opposed to like the epic levels that D&D 3.5 had is that mythic levels can happen at any time. So you can gain a mythic tier as a level 1 character and already be mythic, whereas you can never gain epic levels in 3.5 until you were 21st level. So it's just different. You can have access to it a lot earlier, which in some ways I think is good because you don't have to wait so long to have such unique abilities. But on the other hand, it can quickly overpower you in comparison to the monsters that you're fighting with. Which
wasn't it Brenna who got the mythic ability for you guys all with her hugs is basically what we're calling them.
Yeah, she's like our mythic source. Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And it's because of that the vampire you guys were fighting that really got you. I remember you guys were fighting a vampire and she attacked Brenna, right? And then when you finished the vampire, you guys gained mythic from it.
Yeah, so there's pretty much infinite ways that you can have mythic challenges grant you power in Pathfinder. But typically you have to complete something very challenging in order to gain your next mythic tier. Sometimes it's a quest, sometimes it's defeating a very powerful boss. But yeah, each tier is sort of like gated by completing something difficult.
Okay, so it is pretty subjective what would constitute as difficult in the game.
Yeah, it's really, really up to the dungeon master. Whatever they're deciding is going to be whatever's the gate that's keeping you from the next mythic tier or letting you have access to it. It's just a whole nother rule set, which as a new player, we just threw on top of our game. So you've had to learn that rule set along with the normal rule set. So we really kind of made it difficult on you.
It's been an interesting ride so far. I definitely need to look more into Mythic. That's one thing that I'm still not clear on, which as a new player, it's like all these systems, trying to learn how they work and stuff, which was like, what was my other point was like the second thing that's hard about, or like the first thing I guess that was really hard for me was just gaining ways to gather information on this. Like, unless I'm like spending a lot of money on this, I'm not going to have a lot of easy access to figure out what the rules are or anything, unless I have veterans like you who have all the editions already, which like Dustin has all the editions. Joe has all the editions. I'm assuming you probably have most of the editions or all of them. So if you don't have like an experienced player, you're already going to have to buy like over $100 worth of information.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you could easily spend a lot of money on source books very quickly. Fortunately, now there is a lot of the basic information that's available online. Like for Pathfinder, they have the D20 PFSRD, which is an online website that pretty much gives you access to all of the core rule books and the rules, and you can just do that online on your computer. It's free.
Is that the one where you guys all have like someone needs the license?
No, that's a program that's called Hero Lab.
Oh, Hero Lab.
And that's basically a character creation program and character organization program. And I highly recommend it. It's a very, very good program, especially for like statting out monsters as a DM. I think it's very, very useful. But I also think for a new player, it can be a little overly complicated because it includes sources, so many sources, and there's just so much material on there. I really think one of the best things to do as a new player is to just study the player's handbook. Yeah, in your case, you've got like the mythic levels. You might need to study mythic adventures, but just studying the core rule book or the player's handbook, depending on your system, that's the most information that's going to be useful to you as a new player.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that, honestly. I mean, I like the Heroes Lab just because it will just do all the math for you when it comes to adding all your bonus attack damage and what will be negated and all that. But yeah, it was when I saw what Joe, when he was helping me build my character, looking at all those abilities, I'm just like, oh my goodness. And he just knew where to go. Right. He's like, oh yeah, just pick this one and that one. I'm like, did you read through every single? There's like 50 on this one alone.
Right. Well, and it's one of those things where if you're using a program like that, first of all, you should have a decent grasp of the rules so that you know what you're looking for to begin with. But then also it's a computer program, so you're also having to learn the functionality of the program works. I think for newer players out there who are listening, I would suggest if you can, for your first game, get in something that's pencil and paper, and you're mostly just working out of the core rule book or the player's handbook. Start small, let your experience grow with you, rather than doing what poor Keegan here had to do and diving into a bunch of house rules and multiple different ad hoc rules that are being thrown in like day to day. Something's different than it was the week before. Makes the experience hard.
I mean, it's been fun at least, you know. It's a challenge, which definitely with D&D, like if you want to be up for that challenge, it's what I've come to learn. It's like as a new player, you got to take it slow, but you want to be like, it gets way more fun when the game gets way more challenging. Like, because it's just like, especially with like research and like investigating areas and stuff and trying to figure out the story, what's going on, what are these characters doing, like that right there is like a lot of fun to me. It's just like actually figuring out the plot. Fighting is always going to be fun. Like that's like 90% of all gaming I ever do, PC or on any kind of board game. But investigating and all that's what D&D really thrives in, is just like it kind of just encloses all aspects of gaming, which, you know, you can go from investigating a murder to fighting a demon to partying at a bar and barding it up, you know, like that's what D&D is, just a crazy mix mash of like all this fun stuff that gaming is. That's why I love it. But the more challenging it is, the more fun it's what I find.
Yeah. And I think one really unique aspect of it, as compared to like a computer game or a video game, is that there's so many times when I play a video game where I think, man, I sure just wish I could do this with my character. In D&D, you always can. And that's the great thing about a game that's collaborative storytelling with your imagination, is you don't have to think, oh, I wish they had written the code for this. You just have to make your character do it and then, you know, deal with the consequences of whatever bad choices you made.
There's a lot of consequences in this game.
Okay, let's go on to our last segment, Tricks of the Trade. All right, in Tricks of the Trade this week, I have asked Keegan to talk about 3 things that would make role-playing easier for a new player. I also came up with 3 ideas of my own, so I'll go ahead and go first. And I think one of the things that you could do as a new player that would help you understand the game more is to listen to actual play podcasts. So if you're like playing D&D, you could do Critical Role is a very famous one. But there are actual play podcasts for almost any system out there. I was just listening to one recently that's City of Mist, which is a game that I haven't actually played, but listening to the podcast was quite interesting. And you can get a good sense of the rules and what sort of checks the DM will call for under what situations by listening to other people play. All right, Keegan, what's your first idea?
Well, first was basically access to the information. I just wish there was easier ways to access all the information that you would need. Granted, like if you're going to jump into it, no matter what you're doing, you're probably just going to have to spend some money into it. It's not like the cheapest hobby, but it does take some money. But it has a lot of reward, especially if you have a lot of group of people with you, like who want to get into it. But the first thing definitely is just like accessing all the information you need. That's definitely one thing that's pretty hard as a noob, is trying to find where to go for that.
Yeah, definitely finding a place to get all the information you might need as you play. I agree. My second idea is read lore surrounding the world in which you're playing. So this could be as simple as reading the book about the campaign setting, or if you're playing in a world like Faerun or Golarion, it could be buying the books that have been written about the lore of the world. Like in Faerun, of course, you can read any of the R.A. Salvador books on Richard Durden, and Golarion has started its own books following their heroes that are from their world. So yeah, consume as much of the lore as you can. That way you are familiar with the setting in which you're playing. Obviously, you won't have this opportunity if you're playing in a homebrew world, but what you can do is you can constantly question your DM to provide you lore and information about the setting.
For my second one, it would have to be, well, basically kind of tying into my first, affordability. Yeah, like I said, it's not the most expensive hobby out there, but it's pretty pricey. And especially with like Hero Labs, which if you're like, once you're into it, you definitely want to get Hero Labs because that is like a very efficient, it makes it so much easier for you to like process like all your stat bonuses and everything. It's definitely very expensive, especially if you have people who like different editions. I know Dustin's all about first edition and Pathfinder, and you got like Joe likes 3.5. I think he likes
second edition.
Second edition
Pathfinder. Finding ways to keep it affordable is a good piece of advice. Like I said, I would always look first for online resources. Most of the settings out there do have at least the base set of rules available for free. But you can also, one thing I have noticed is at used bookstores, you can find some of the older books pretty inexpensively. I've picked up some Dungeon Master guides and some monster manuals for like $8-10 for copies of older editions. That's a pretty good thing to keep an eye out for. Thrift stores often have them in their book section too. So
that's really good information right there.
My last piece of advice for making roleplay easier for a new player is to take notes. Have a notebook with you and take detailed notes, not just about the game and what your character's doing, but also make notes about how the character sheets are used, places where you have different types of skill checks that are called for, anything that the DM is telling you to do or roll. Make a note about it so that as you refer to it later, you just get a better understanding of the rules. And the more and more you see it and you refer to it, the faster those things are going to be added to your long-term memory and the quicker you're going to become a veteran of the game.
Yeah, no, which I appreciate the notebook you gave all of us.
I'm such a proponent of notes. I believe in them 100-fold.
Well, for my third one would have to be like finding just a way to meet more people who actually want to do it while still having an experienced player help you through, because there's not a lot of, like, there's places where you can go play, but there's no one there that's going to be able to like help walk you through step by step, which I get how Rob and Dustin, when they were doing it first starting out, they just went on a whim and just like, they would look it up when they needed to, but there's more just kind of freestyle playing. I just wish there was just a place where there were like someone who could help bring a group to like understand how the game works in an easier fashion, but it's a pretty hard ask in my opinion. But I just wish there was easier ways to.
Yeah, so trying to find some veteran to help you.
Right.
And I do think one of the things about role-playing games that I think is pretty universal, at least it is in the area of the country we live, is if you do go to a gaming store and there's people playing, usually people are pretty tied together in our geekdom. Like, I find conversations with people who have interests in D&D or tabletop role-playing games happen pretty naturally, and it's just something we can always talk about. Like, if I notice people in a D&D t-shirt, I'm definitely going to start up a conversation with them, and we're going to be chatting about characters and all the crazy adventures we've been on pretty easily. So yeah, find a local game shop maybe would be a good place to start and just strike up a conversation. But if you have the opportunity, like you did, being in a group with at least a few veteran players is definitely going to be useful.
Yeah, having my sister who is one of those veteran players definitely helped me access a lot of veteran players. So my case ain't going to be the same as most others out there, but you know, it's like he said, definitely those like shops would probably be the best bet, honestly. I've been to a few of them, but I mean, generally there's no one there, but I'm sure there's like nights where you go and
go to Friday Night Magic. Like, that's a lot of people play Magic the Gathering are definitely into D&D as well.
Oh, yeah, Joe.
And me. Yeah, all of us, actually. Almost our whole group. All right. Well, this brings us to the end of the episode. Thank you very much for joining me today, Keegan. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
So please subscribe to the podcast, leave me a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and check out my book, Session Zero, The DMG to Writing Great Campaigns in Any System. It's available on Amazon, and there's a link in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to shoot us an email, if you want to collaborate, if you have any questions, or if you have any ideas for future shows, the address is all one word, dungeonsdragonspsychology@gmail.com. And we'll see you next session.
Bye.